Okay guys, so after some serious research, just looking around at places that I could possibly go to, I could possibly visit within, like a 50-mile radius, hopefully less than that though, honestly. I did find this like Victorian museum, and I had to leave Tampa. I had to leave that whole area to get here. This is in Brooksville, Florida. But it kind of makes sense because the more I think about it, like the whole Tampa Bay area is like its own bubble, and it's very nice. Like I said, it's very upscale, it's very nice, but it's not really the side of Florida that I want to see, honestly. But this looks a lot different than Tampa. Well, not really, but it's not like a big city. This is a small town. It's like out here. It's off of 75. I just drove past a sign that said this town was established in 1856. So that's the time period we're talking about, and it's like a heritage thing. And I didn't even realize this, but the whole Florida heritage sites that I was talking about earlier, this is one of those sites. I didn't know that because when I tried to go to their website, I don't think I could find this place on their website. I had to look it up on the National Historic Registry to find it. But anyway, I'm about to go in this place and see what they got on display. It's probably interesting. It's probably gonna be a little bit awkward because there's like nobody here. And all of a sudden this dude from Georgia just walks up in here with a GoPro wanting to film everything. So yeah, it might be a little bit awkward, but I'm gonna try to settle in slowly but smoothly and see if I can get some good shots of the inside of this house, because it looks pretty on the outside. I'm sure it's even better on the inside. So let's do this.
The following clips are my experience of the May Stringer house, but first, here's a little history on its origin and those that first dwelled there. In 1855, the land that now contains the town of Brooksville, Florida was purchased by John May, who, being a contractor, would go on to build the home itself along with several other houses in the area. It was originally a modest 4-room house for John and his wife Morena, along with their 2 daughters, before 1858, when John passed away due to tuberculosis. In 1866, John's wife Morena would remarry to Frank Saxon, a Confederate war hero, and go on to have 2 more children, a son born in 1867 and died just 3 weeks after being born due to sickness, and a daughter, Jessie May Saxon, in 1869. Sadly, 3 weeks after the birth of Jessie May, Morena died of a fever. Frank Saxon would continue to live in the house with his only surviving child, Jessie, until 3 years later when she died of unknown causes. After her death, Frank Saxon left the house in an attempt to move on from the loss of his family. The home itself then went on to sell multiple times between the years of 1872 and 1903, when it was purchased by Sheldon Stringer, a doctor who added 10 additional rooms to the floor plan and ran his medical practice out of an office on the first floor. The home would remain in the Stringer possession for a total of 3 generations until 1949, when it received new ownership and became a rental property until 1974. It then sat abandoned for 6 years until being repurchased in 1980. In 1981, it was leased and eventually purchased by the Hernando County Historical Museum Association to become the May Stringer House Museum. It was around this time that purported hauntings began and were documented by volunteers of the museum. It was registered in the National Historic Association in 1997, and since then has remained and been ran by volunteers of Brooksville as a popular heritage site for tourists. That's a brief history of the place and its original inhabitants. Unfortunately, I found my way into the house itself during the middle of a tour, and so I missed the very first part of it. But basically, the first thing they're going to tell you when you come in is a lot of what I just explained to you, and they're also going to tell you that most of the items that are found in the home are donated by various people within the area. And there's a lot of artifacts. They say there's 11,000 of them to be exact, and most of them didn't actually come with the home. However, there are some that did actually come with the property. And one cool thing that they mentioned is that John May was pretty frugal, and being a contractor, he had a well-rounded understanding of the way that taxes and things worked when it came to the design of particular buildings. And the way that they taxed back then is that they would basically tax you by the number of doors you had, the number of fireplaces you had, different things like that. So with him being frugal, he actually connected 3 fireplaces to 1 chimney. He also only had a front door and a back door on the original plan for the house, and he made windows that were full size that basically became makeshift doors to get in and out. You'll also find this awesome collection of historical newspapers, and you just saw the one for the Titanic there. There's one on the Lincoln assassination and the McKinley assassination there. Very fascinating things that are actually kind of rare. She was talking about how the lettering was so small and how challenging it would have been to actually print a newspaper with sections and articles that are that small. She says she believes that's about a month worth of news on that one particular newspaper we're looking at there. This is the master bedroom. Again, most of these items didn't actually come with the house. This bed is solid mahogany, so she said, and it's just a very beautiful setup for the room itself. Here we have some spin wheels where she was speaking about, you know, how the seamstresses would operate them, and just listing different mechanisms on the spin wheel itself. I'm sorry I can't include the audio, the original audio from the videos. The reason why is because it was totally out of sync. I was kind of in a challenging position because I wasn't the only one on the tour, and I was just trying to be polite and try to keep the other visitors out of the video itself. Putting it on YouTube, I didn't really want to get their faces or anything in the video, so I was trying to like film my way around these other people, and like I said, just be polite on the tour itself. And I didn't even realize exactly what this place was walking into it. It's kind of funny. I didn't realize, you know, the fact that they claim it's so haunting, and I also didn't realize the amount of video that's on YouTube covering this place. But they do ghost tours as well. This is just a regular daytime tour, but they will do ghost tours, and they claim that this place is in the top 4 most haunted places in Florida. And here, this equipment itself, it actually came from the Brooksville Hospital. That's a phone book right there, and that's a giant switchboard. I believe that's it's an original operating switchboard. She said that it came from the hospital, but I don't see how that could actually be at a hospital. I'm thinking that was part of the phone company's equipment, like the original equipment for the phone lines that were installed in the town itself. And that's a pretty cool contraption right there that you're looking at. You've got 2 of those old rotary phones, and you pick one up and you dial a number and the other one will ring. They had a lot of trouble getting it to work. But they did finally get it to ring. I find this equipment very fascinating. I've never seen anything like it. And as you can see there, you see all the antique phones. You see the antique phone booth. It's just amazing how so much history can come together. This is like a post office box here in a mailman's uniform there. There's also a collection of stamps on the wall. I imagine that this piece is just like a newer form of the one behind it, the old switchboard. Maybe it's related in some way. Could possibly be. And I'm a lover of maps, so when I saw these maps here, I was really fascinated. I wanted to come get a look at the maps. The one in the center is just a map of Hernando County, which Brooksville is located in. This here is Jessie May's room, and there's actually a clip coming up with the guide. She explains a little ghost story experience. If you're a believer in the paranormal, it's very easy to see how this house could be so haunted with all these artifacts in it, all these dolls. Think about back in the day, if you're a kid, you probably only have one toy, and you would put a lot of energy into that toy and almost become attached to it. So if you think about it, that's a good reason why this house could be so haunted.
Jessie May, we are assuming, likes this, because we will come up here sometimes and all the doors in the house will be open. And we close them, and they'll eventually open up again. She's been known to kick her ball out from under her bed. She's been known to tell that teddy bear, well, you actually heard it on the Paranormal Pit program on Facebook, where he videos here live, like Friday nights, I think. She actually told the teddy, and you could hear her very clearly, told the teddy bear to tell her a story.
Oh.
And he's the only one here, so we know, it's not him messing around.
This here is a dollhouse that was donated, and she was just saying earlier that she believes that Jessie May likes the house because she will actually move things around within the house. She said that they'll close all the doors in the house and they'll come back and they'll all be reopened once again. And this is a doll. It came from Germany. It says it's double jointed. I'm not sure what it means by that. I'm sure it's a pretty special, and it was a very expensive doll for a little girl to have back in the 1800s. They say that there are 2 original dolls that came with the house, and they actually belong to Jessie May. And those particular dolls predate the Civil War, so they're well over 150 years old. And she also said that Jessie doesn't like it when anybody touches her dolls, because there was a tour guide that came in and picked one of the dolls up and then put it down in a different spot. And then later, when they came back into the room, the bassinet that the doll was sitting in was dismantled. And they also got an EVP saying that they're not dolls, they're her babies. So this right here, this is the room where Dr. Stringer would have had his practice. And there are many things that were donated here. You see there's a table there that was for giving birth. There's also, in just a minute, you'll see a shot of that big compressed, like airtight tank that's over to the left. It's called an enclave, and basically what they did is they would put medical tools and syringes in that tank, and they would turn the pressure and the steam and the heat up on it, and that's how they would sanitize like syringes and different medical tools, because they actually reused syringes back then. There it is right there. They also mention, you know, the fact that barbers used to perform minor surgeries back in the day. And then this counter over here, it's just like an endless supply of old and interesting trinkets, artifacts. There's an optometrist set there. There's like old pharmaceutical stuff. She said there's a how do you even say it? I can't say it. Hypothecary table in the room, which is just an old form of pharmacy from back in the day. Several old tools. Like I said, just an endless supply of really interesting things. I could have stood in that room for hours looking at all the stuff that's in there. It's really something that, if you ever get the chance to come to Brooksville, you should really check this place out. It's full of just really interesting stuff. You see the old like antique microscope there. A set of eyeglasses, and that was just a set of barber razors there. This is the military room, and she was saying that those uniforms there, they range from World War I all the way to Desert Storm.
Early Confederate flag?
It is the Confederate flag.
Because it was a battle flag.
Yes,
Yeah.
this one is a battle flag. The stars, you may see other ones and the stars will change, because when states seceded, then they give them a star, but then sometimes states that had seceded came back to the Union, so the star got, so they're different, they are different stars. We used to hang this because this house lived under that flag and the American flag. So we flew one on one side and one on the other. It was a big hullabaloo. I mean, it's still going on, but we had about 200 people come from Tampa to tell us to take the statue down in the court, at the courthouse. We have a statue commemorating the soldiers, the Confederate soldiers, not any one, but soldiers. And so the people came up and said, you have to take that down. But the Brooksvillians said, no, we don't. So they left it up there. But the powers that be made us bring the flag in at that point. They said somebody could drive by here and see that and firebomb the place or whatever.
This is standing just outside Jessie Mae's room with all the dolls. From there we went up the stairs into the attic, and there is a very, very famous supposed spirit up here whose name is Gary, or also known as Mr. Nasty. And apparently there's a chest up here that they say he came along with, so it wasn't original to the house, but he was attached to the chest, and when they opened it up, he started to inhabit the attic. There's a bed up here with the bedspread on it, and apparently they will straighten the bedspread out, make the bed up, leave, come back, and they can actually see a print on the bed where it looks like somebody has sat. You can see it right there. It's like a butt print of where this Mr. Nasty sits. And up here, she pointed out a section of the attic where they do not allow people to go into, but she said that people have seen people inside of this dark area of the attic, supposed spirits within that area. And I'm about to get it right here. You'll see a short clip of the inside of this dark area. There have been purported figures inside that dark spot right there. So that concludes the footage that I collected of the Mae Stringer Museum. I didn't realize this at the time, but it's actually a very popular topic online, especially on YouTube. There are many, many, many videos of ghost tours that are held on a regular basis at this location. So if you want to see more footage of the place, or you're more interested in the paranormal side of things, I would recommend doing a YouTube search of the place. You'll find many, many videos with way more detailed information than this particular video itself. Had I realized that at the time, I wouldn't have been so humble and modest with my filming. My idea is that I didn't want to go in there and film everything, because I just figured it was a lesser known, smaller museum that doesn't get a lot of passers-by coming into it. So I didn't want to film everything in there. I figured that would kind of possibly hinder people's interest, because they would just figure, well, I wanted to go there, but I saw this video that has everything in the museum in the video, so I'll just watch the video and not come and pay for a visit at the place. But then I realized that the place is famously known, famously haunted, and there are many, many, many people that have been there and filmed, and basically I think the main thing about the place that piques people's interest is the paranormal part of it, and the fact that they say it's one of the top most haunted places in Florida. And I think that in itself is going to keep people wanting to come. It's going to pique their interest and keep them coming back. There's one other thing that I have gathered about the attic itself, and that is that it's believed that during the time that Dr. Stringer lived there, he actually not only operated his practice on the first floor, but he would actually open up the attic for people that were ill with things like yellow fever. And so people were believed to have stayed up in the attic. And there was one particular Confederate soldier that had committed suicide by hanging himself up there. So it's another added piece to the paranormal past of this place. And it's a pretty creepy place overall. I didn't really feel anything malevolent, although they say that Mr. Nasty spirit is supposed to be pretty nasty. That's why I got the nickname, obviously. I didn't really feel anything like that. I did feel like I was being watched a couple times. Nothing major though. I do have one clip in the attic that could possibly be EVP, but I'm not 100% sure about that, so I didn't put it in the video itself. But like I said, if you're interested, you should definitely come and visit this place. It's only $5 per person to get into it. The tour lasts for about an hour if you're just doing the daytime tour. They also have a lot more information on their website about their ghost tours, but basically they're held 1 to 2 times per week, and they're obviously at night. So if you're more interested, just go online, look up the May Stringer Museum in Brooksville, Florida, and I hope you enjoyed this.